In today's video, I'm breaking down everything we know about Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2. Starting with the release. Episode 5. This one's called Shock Jock, and it picks up literally seconds after Volume 1 ends. Frank Darabont directs this episode, which is absolutely wild, because he's the guy behind The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. The Duffers brought him in specifically for this chapter, because they wanted someone who understands tension and dread on a cellular level. The official description calls it darker and scarier than anything they've done before, which is saying something for a show that's had kids hiding from interdimensional monsters since Season 1. Shock Jock focuses on the immediate fallout of Holly's disappearance and the military tightening their grip on Hawkins. The town is completely quarantined now, with Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan's forces hunting down anyone connected to the Upside Down incidents. 11 is on the run, separated from Mike and the group, while Will is experiencing these new powers that connect him directly to Vecna's consciousness. The title Shock Jock refers to WSQK radio station, which becomes a central location in this episode. Derek Turnbow, a young boy and Holly's classmate, gets pulled into the chaos. The group realizes they can use the WSQK radio station's equipment. This episode also deals with Max's current state. She's trapped in Vecna's mind prison, experiencing his memories on a loop. Sadie Sink filmed scenes where Max witnesses Henry Creel's transformation into Vecna, including moments from the Hawkins lab experiments in the 1950s. These aren't just random flashbacks. They're Vecna deliberately showing Max his origin story because he needs something from her. The exact reason stays murky, but evidence suggests he's using her consciousness as an anchor to manipulate reality itself. Meanwhile, the rest of the group is desperately trying to figure out how to reach her before she's lost completely. But Shock Jock is just the setup. The title of Episode 6 references a planet where minds are controlled by pure evil. Keep that in mind, because the literary connection isn't just a reference, it's a literal blueprint for what Vecna built. Escape from Camazotz is the monster episode. Camazotz comes from A Wrinkle in Time, the classic sci-fi novel about a dystopian planet where everyone's mind is controlled by a single evil entity. The Duffer Brothers have confirmed this isn't just a cute reference, it's literally what's happening. Vecna has created his own version of Camazotz inside the Upside Down, a realm built from stolen memories, where he can trap consciousness and bend people to his will. Max isn't the only one stuck there. Holly Wheeler is there too, along with other Hawkins children who disappeared in the weeks leading up to Volume 1. This episode is directed by Shawn Levy, who's done multiple Stranger Things episodes, and basically co-parents this show with the Duffers. Ross Duffer described it as the biggest episode in Volume 2, referring to its scale and scope, which tracks because the rescue mission involves nearly every main character converging on the same location. 11 finally reunites with Mike. Will uses his Vecna connection to guide them through the mind prison, and Lucas is apparently the key to reaching Max because of their emotional bond. Mostly coming from this episode, where performances from Caleb McLaughlin and Sadie Sink, the action and escape from Camazotz is relentless. We're talking full-scale battles against evolved Demogorgons, chase sequences through memory corridors that shift and collapse, and a confrontation between Eleven and Vecna that doesn't go the way anyone expects. Vecna doesn't just want to kill Eleven anymore. He wants to absorb her powers because she's the only psychic strong enough to complete whatever nightmare plan he's cooked up. But escaping Camazotz only reveals the real problem. Because the bridge isn't just about physical escapes, it's about bridging something the Duffers have been hiding since Season 1. And when you understand what Will's powers actually do, the entire timeline of Stranger Things breaks apart. The question is whether that's an accident or exactly what Vecna wanted. Episode 7. The bridge is where everything collides. Ross and Matt Duffer co-direct this one with Shawn Levy, which only happens when an episode is so crucial they need all hands on deck. The title works on multiple levels. It's the bridge between Volume 2 and the finale. Yes, but it's also about bridging dimensions, bridging past and present, and bridging the emotional gaps between characters who've been torn apart by trauma. The official description calls it the most emotional chapter in Stranger Things history, which is absolutely terrifying given what this show has already put us through. Will's powers fully manifest, and there's heavy speculation that he gains the ability to manipulate time itself. This ties into the frozen 1983 theory, where the Upside Down is stuck on the day Will first disappeared. If Will can access temporal loops through his Vecna connection, he might be able to rewrite events, or at least understand why Vecna targeted him specifically all those years ago. Noah Schnapp has been cryptic in interviews, only saying that Will's arc in this episode finally gives him the closure he deserves after being the victim for 4 seasons straight. Joyce and Hopper have their own storyline running parallel to the kids' rescue mission. They're dealing with Dr. K, the new military antagonist played by Linda Hamilton. Dr. K isn't your typical government villain. She genuinely believes shutting down the Upside Down portals requires extreme measures, even if that means sacrificing Hawkins' residents. Her ideology clashes with Joyce's protective mother instincts, creating this intense philosophical battle about acceptable losses in a war against supernatural forces. The confrontation between Winona Ryder and Linda Hamilton is apparently so good that test audiences demanded it be extended in the final edit. The bridge also features the return of Carly, also known as 8, Eleven's sister from Season 2, who can create illusions. She is captured by Dr. K and the military, who are experimenting on her by draining her blood. Her powers become crucial later, but she starts as a prisoner rather than arriving to help. But the bridge is only half the story. Because while the show was filming, something happened on Broadway that nobody expected. A stage play started answering questions about Vecna that the TV show deliberately avoided. And the final scene of that play reveals something happening in Volume 2 that makes Vecna's entire plan make terrifying sense. The play. Here's where things get weird. Stranger Things. The first Shadow, the stage play that's been running on Broadway and the West End, directly connects to Volume 2 and the finale. The play is set in 1959 and follows a young Henry Creel before he became Vecna, exploring his family's dark history and the experiments that twisted him into a monster. The final scene of the play explicitly references events that will happen in Season 5, breaking the fourth wall in a way that made theater audiences gasp. When Volume 2 drops, characters in the show will make discoveries that only make sense if you know what happened in 1959. The play reveals that Henry Creel wasn't born evil. He was corrupted by exposure to an entity that predates the Mind Flayer. This entity, never fully named but implied to be the true source of the Upside Down's malevolence, infected Henry as a child and slowly transformed him into its avatar. In the show, Vecna disguises himself as Mr. Pite Whatsit, a callback to A Wrinkle in Time, to manipulate children like Holly Wheeler, appearing as a manifestation of this original evil. When characters in Volume 2 start talking about hierarchies in the Upside Down and Vecna not being the final threat, they're referencing lore that the play established months ago. The overlap is intentional and kind of brilliant. The Duffers wrote the play specifically to answer questions about Vecna's origins without bogging down the TV show with extended flashbacks. If you've seen the play, certain moments in Volume 2 will hit differently because you understand the tragic inevitability of Henry's transformation. If you haven't seen it, the show still works perfectly fine, you just won't catch every reference. There's supposedly a scene in Episode 7 where Eleven accesses Vecna's earliest memories and sees images directly pulled from the play's set design. It's a cross-media storytelling experiment that no one's really attempted at this scale before. But the play only confirms what fans already suspected. Because while the Duffers were protecting spoilers, Reddit was connecting dots that shouldn't connect. Some theories sound insane until you see the evidence. And one theory about Liquid explains why Vecna keeps his lair completely dry. Remember that detail, because it might be the key to killing something that's supposed to be unkillable. Theories everywhere. Another major theory suggests that one of the main characters will sacrifice themselves to close the portals permanently. The smart money is on either Will or Eleven, since they're the two with the strongest psychic connections to Vecna. Will's arc has always been about victimhood and finding agency, so dying to save everyone would give him ultimate control over his fate. Eleven's arc has been about self-worth beyond her powers, so sacrificing herself would prove she values others more than her own abilities. Both would be devastating, and the Duffers have explicitly refused to confirm or deny anyone's survival, which is basically confirmation that someone major is dying. Fans noticed that in Volume 1, whenever liquid touches upside-down matter, it reacts strangely, almost like it's burning or dissolving. Max observes in her Vecna memories that he avoids water and fluid entirely, keeping his lair dry and desiccated. The theory suggests that Vecna's transformation made him vulnerable to liquids, possibly because his body is some kind of organic circuitry that shorts out when wet. If true, the group could weaponize this by using water grenades or flooding parts of the Upside Down. It sounds simple, but Stranger Things has always loved finding mundane solutions to supernatural problems, like using music to break Vecna's curse in Season 4. Then, there's the Byler versus Melevin romance drama, which has fractured the fandom into warring factions. Will's feelings for Mike have been subtly building since Season 3, and Volume 1 included several moments where Will looked at Mike with obvious longing. Meanwhile, Mike and Eleven's relationship has been rocky, with them spending most of the season apart. Shippers on both sides are analyzing every frame for evidence that their preferred couple will be endgame. The Duffers have said they want the romantic resolutions to feel earned and realistic, which probably means no one's getting exactly what they want because that's how real relationships work. But theories are just speculation until new characters confirm them, and Linda Hamilton's casting tells you everything about what Volume 2 is really about. She's not playing a generic villain. She's playing someone who thinks sacrificing Hawkins saves humanity. The question is whether she's wrong or just early. New characters. Linda Hamilton's Dr. K is the most significant addition to the cast. She's not a cartoon villain like some previous government antagonists. Dr. K genuinely believes the Upside Down represents an extinction-level threat that requires military intervention and total information control. Her philosophy is basically utilitarianism taken to its logical extreme. She'll sacrifice Hawkins to save the world, if necessary. Hamilton brings this grizzled authority to the role that makes you understand her perspective even when she's ordering horrific actions. Her scenes with Eleven are particularly intense because she sees Eleven as both a weapon and a liability that needs to be contained. Shannon Purser returns as Barb, sort of. Barb's body appears in the Upside Down, covered in vines, and possibly controlled by Vecna. It's not really Barb alive, just her remains being featured. Her appearance serves as a gut punch reminder of how this all started, with a girl dying at a party because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The scene where Nancy sees Barb again reportedly made Natalia Dyer break down between takes because it forced Nancy to confront the guilt she's carried since Season 1. Nell Fisher plays Holly Wheeler in what's being described as a breakout performance. Holly's always been a background character, the youngest Wheeler kid who never got involved in the supernatural chaos. Volume 2 changes that by throwing her directly into the nightmare. Fisher had to do extensive physical acting for the Upside Down sequences, including being covered in prosthetics and hanging from wires for the mind prison scenes. She's only 11 years old in real life, and the crew apparently had to be really careful about not traumatizing her with the horror elements. Her performance as a terrified kid trying to be brave is supposed to echo Will's arc from Season 1, creating this thematic parallel between them. But casting choices only matter if production doesn't fall apart. And Season 5's production was a disaster that somehow created something better. What happened during those Hollywood strikes forced the Duffers to rethink everything. And one 25-page document they wrote explains mythology that will never appear on screen, but changes how every actor performed their scenes, behind the scenes. Production on Season 5 was a nightmare in the best and worst ways. Filming started in January 2024, but immediately got delayed by the Hollywood strikes. When they finally resumed, the schedule was so compressed that they were shooting multiple episodes simultaneously with different directors. Frank Darabont came out of retirement after an 11-year gap since his last TV project, Mob City in 2013, to direct episodes 3 and 5 of Stranger Things Season 5. He has extensive TV experience, including serving as showrunner for Season 1 of The Walking Dead, directing its pilot and creating Mob City, so adjusting to the TV pace while maintaining his cinematic style created interesting challenges. Shawn Levy was basically living on set, bouncing between directing duties and producing responsibilities, while also working on Deadpool and Wolverine. The Duffer Brothers wrote a 25-page document explaining the Upside Down's complete mythology just for the cast and crew. This document includes information that will never make it into the show, but needed to exist, so everyone understood the internal logic. Details like how the Mind Flayer relates to Vecna, what the Upside Down actually is versus what characters think it is, and the full timeline of interdimensional incursions going back decades. Cast members have said reading that document completely changed their understanding of their characters' motivations. The emotional toll on the cast was significant. Multiple actors have mentioned crying during table reads because they finally learned how their character arcs end. Finn Wolfhard described the final script as both satisfying and heartbreaking, saying it honors what the show has always been about while not shying away from consequences. Millie Bobby Brown said saying goodbye to Eleven felt like losing a piece of herself, which is understandable given she's played this character since she was 12 years old. The wrap party in December 2024 was apparently an emotional disaster, with the entire cast and crew hugging and sobbing for hours. But production drama means nothing if the visuals don't sell the horror. And Volume 2's Upside Down doesn't look like anything we've seen before. The art department redesigned it to feel alive, which raises a question nobody's asking. If the Upside Down is evolving, what's causing the mutation? Keep that in mind, because the creature design suggests something terrifying. Visual evolution. The Upside Down looks completely different in Volume 2 compared to previous seasons. The art department redesigned it to feel more organic and alive, with the vines actively pulsing and the red lightning storms increasing in intensity. Vecna's lair has expanded into this massive cathedral-like structure built from bones and flesh, visually representing how his power has grown. The Mind prison sequences use practical effects combined with digital environments, creating these surreal spaces where perspective shifts and geometry doesn't follow normal rules. The creature design has also evolved. The Demogorgons in Volume 2 are larger and more aggressive, with additional blade-like protrusions on their arms. Demodogs hunt in coordinated packs now, displaying intelligence that suggests Vecna is directly controlling them, rather than letting them act on instinct. New creature evolutions include larger Demogorgons with blade-like protrusions, and Demodog packs displaying coordinated intelligence under Vecna's control. The military technology provides a stark contrast to the organic horror of the Upside Down. We see armored vehicles, advanced weapon systems, and mobile command centers that turn Hawkins into a war zone. The aesthetic clash between cold military precision and chaotic supernatural terror creates visual tension in every frame. But visuals only work when sound amplifies the emotion. And the Duffers found a musical moment that might rival Kate Bush's cultural impact. They're not revealing the song yet, but it connects to Will's childhood in a way that breaks the story open. The scene took days to film because the emotional beats required genuine performance, not editing tricks. Music matters. The soundtrack for Volume 2 includes some deep cuts from the 1980s, continuing the show's tradition of introducing Gen Z to classic rock. Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill became a cultural phenomenon after Season 4, and the Duffers are hoping to replicate that success with their music choices here. They've teased using tracks that connect thematically to character arcs, like songs about time, memory, and letting go. The score by Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein leans heavily into synthesizers and orchestral swells, building emotional crescendos that make even quiet scenes feel loaded with significance. There's supposedly a musical moment in Episode 6 that rivals the Season 4 Kate Bush sequence in terms of emotional impact. Details are scarce, but it involves Will and a song connected to his childhood, possibly something Joyce used to play for him. The scene functions as both character development and plot advancement, with the music triggering memories that reveal crucial information about Vecna's plans. Noah Schnapp recorded the scene over multiple days because it required such specific emotional beats, and the directors wanted to capture genuine performance rather than manufacturing it through editing. But music is just one layer of reference, and Volume 2 pulls from sources that reveal the Duffers' entire philosophy. A Wrinkle in Time isn't just inspiration, it's a structural guide to how Vecna's powers work. And the Dungeons & Dragons connection explains why defeating Vecna might require destroying something the characters desperately want to protect. The references. A Wrinkle in Time is obviously the big literary influence here, but Volume 2 pulls from tons of other sources. The Duffer Brothers have name-dropped the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, particularly the idea of a malevolent entity trying to destroy multiple realities. The IT comparisons are inevitable, given both stories involve kids fighting an ancient evil in their hometown. But the Duffers insist their approach is different, because Vecna has comprehensible motivations rather than being pure chaos. Dungeons & Dragons continues to inform the mythology. In D&D lore, Vecna is a lich who became a god through dark magic, losing his hand and eye in the process but gaining immense power. The show's version trades the missing body parts for scarred flesh, but the core concept remains. He's something that was once human, but transcended mortality through forbidden knowledge. The idea of him collecting victims' consciousness parallels D&D's phylactery concept, where liches store their souls in objects to achieve immortality. Vecna's mind prison could be his phylactery, meaning destroying it might be the key to killing him permanently. But literary references become literal problems when time stops working correctly. And Volume 2's timeline includes anomalies that break cause and effect. Characters feel like they've lived through weeks when only hours passed, which means either Vecna controls perception or time itself is fracturing. The answer determines whether the finale can even happen. Timeline chaos. The chronology of Volume 2 is surprisingly complex. Episode 5 picks up immediately after Volume 1, putting us on November 3rd, 1987. The next episodes compress several days of action into rapid succession, but there are temporal anomalies that suggest time isn't flowing normally. If the Upside Down is frozen in 1983, and Vecna can create time pockets within his mind prison, the actual flow of events might not be linear. This creates some wild possibilities for the finale. If Will gains time manipulation powers, he could theoretically go back to November 6th, 1983, and prevent his own disappearance. But that would create a paradox where none of the subsequent events happen, meaning Eleven never develops her powers to the point where she can fight Vecna, meaning Vecna wins by default. The Duffers love playing with these kinds of temporal puzzles, and there's speculation that the finale will involve multiple timelines colliding. The series title. The bridge might literally refer to bridging different moments in time, creating a path between 1983 and 1987 that allows for intervention. But timeline theories only matter if audiences care enough to analyze them. And Volume 1's reception suggests people are more invested than ever. That 84% Rotten Tomatoes score came with complaints about pacing, which the Duffers anticipated. Because they structured Volume 1 as a slow burn, specifically so Volume 2 could be pure escalation. The question is whether 3 episodes can deliver on 5 hours of setup. What's at stake? Volume 2 needs to accomplish several things simultaneously. It has to rescue the captured characters, reveal Vecna's master plan, deliver satisfying character arcs, set up the finale, and maintain breakneck pacing while also hitting emotional beats. That's a lot to balance across 3 episodes, even long ones. The Duffers have proven they can juggle complex narratives, but this is their biggest challenge yet. Expectations are astronomical because this is the end of an 8-year journey that defined a generation's relationship with genre television. The stakes extend beyond the show itself. Stranger Things revitalized 1980s nostalgia and proved that horror could work in mainstream episodic formats. Its success influenced everything from Netflix's content strategy to how other studios approach genre properties. If Volume 2 and the finale stick the landing, it cements Stranger Things as one of the all-time great TV series. If it fumbles, years of goodwill evaporate instantly. The Duffers understand this pressure, which is probably why they've been so protective of spoilers and so insistent that they're giving the story the ending it deserves. But the show's legacy only matters because we care about these characters as people. and Volume 2 forces every protagonist to confront who they are when powers and weapons don't matter. Will stops being the victim and becomes something else entirely. 11 learns that being special means nothing if you're alone, and one character makes a choice that redefines what sacrifice actually costs. If you enjoyed this video and want to see every level of Stranger Things, Monster Explained, click the video on the screen.